dialogue, I normally have an actor in my head because it just helps. You've got a little movie in your head, and that's what's playing. And I must admit, Hugh Jackman was my first choice because he's the leading man, and he represents like a kind of real classical hero. He's flawed, hugely flawed. Like, this is a character who has a lot to learn through this movie, and I think that's why he was important to me, because he is effortlessly charming. You can't help but like this guy, even when he's acting badly. So yes, he was top of my list. You tend to draw up a list of people that you want to work with, and then you try and get them. And I was really lucky in that I got pretty much everyone that I wanted on this movie. Yeah.
So all of the other like movies featured a child protagonist. So I was just wondering what the development was to have this adult Sasquatch character be the main star of this movie.
I think actually that was one of the reasons why it seemed like it was a great choice for us to make this next, was because it was different. It wasn't a child protagonist. Link himself as a character is kind of childlike. There is a naivety to him, which I think is what makes him so charming. But I think there were a few things about this story that seemed like that's why we should make this. And one of those reasons was that it felt different from anything we've done before.
To elaborate on that point, a lot of the earlier films are really dark in look, and this is very bright and colorful. What was the decision to go that direction?
I mean, that started pretty early on, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a welcome change too, because there is something that typifies the sort of stop frame kind of vibe, and
Right.
It was so fun to do a bright, colorful, more commercial film. To me, I've kind of wanting to do that for a long time, so I really broke out into it. I welcomed it, and was really excited about the color palette and laying the look and the tone of the film out at the beginning, and Chris had some early influences that resonated with me, and I love the sort of Chrome quality of the early National Geographic magazines, tearing pages out. They were the first magazines to have such large images, so we had just a wall of the most beautiful several walls. Yeah. So yeah, it was, and it's very bright. It's also, there's not a lot of nighttime, and that's also was refreshing for us.
Yeah. I think that speaks to the same thing with the adult characters. It was like another reason to do this, because it's like, we talked about it initially as a kaleidoscopic travelogue. I wanted it to be the biggest, brightest, most colourful thing that we've done. And that, again, that's you start these things and you're like, how can we make this unique? How can we make this different? And that was certainly one of them. It was like, let's make this look like nothing we've done before.
Cool.
Yeah, stop motion is always gorgeous. Well, usually, and you guys always make wonderful films with your stop motion. And how difficult, and it's a very difficult process. What was the film that put you in the direction of, I'm going to become a stop motion animator and filmmaker?
No, that's not true. I actually started out as a 2D animator. I drew all the time, and when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Disney movies, and I thought that's what I was going to do. And it was actually, I love stop motion. I particularly love Ray Harryhausen. I think for me, it would probably be one of the Sinbad movies. Which one is it? The one with the saber-toothed tiger fighting the thing. Anyway, I guess we should. And of course the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts.
Mysterious Island.
No, anyway.
Don't.
Don't spoil that. Yeah. But I love the Ray Harryhausen creatures. Everyone does. But for me, it was actually working on a stop-motion movie that changed my mind. I was working on Corpse Bride with this guy, and I was a story artist, and it was the first time that I was storyboarding on a project where if you were lacking inspiration for a shot or an idea, you could actually walk onto the set and think about where the camera was, and you don't get to do that in 2D or even in CG to an extent. Like, it was so inspirational to me, and it made me a better filmmaker because I started to think about where the camera was, and why am I shooting here? Why am I cutting to this? It made me a much stronger, I think, filmmaker. And since that movie, I've not done anything else.
Yeah, I think for me, just I love making things. I come from a sort of family of makers, builders, and miniaturists, and so it was kind of a natural thing for me. Once I worked in other mediums, but as I started to get introduced to stuff frame, I think it almost brought the control freak out of me, and so much that I like to be able to control the look of everything. And so as we're actually creating it from scratch, we're not going to locations and changing them, or we build the dirt and the smoke and the gas and the buildings and everything. So, I loved having that control over it, and world building is, really exciting to me.
So the answer is because you're a control.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, we've seen the horror aspects before. I mean, Coraline, Paranorman, Corpse Bride, like what you guys said, going across the boards and companies, and now, Sasquatch into the cryptozoology. Will we get a Christmas movie just to try to rival Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at this
I
point?
would love to do a Christmas movie. Of course, it would be horrifying.
Okay.
It would be full of horror and malicious intent. But
So it'd be a Krampus film.
I would love to do a Christmas movie. The definitive stop-motion Christmas movie. Watch this space.
With so many different versions of like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, when you're writing and developing your missing link, what was that process and how did it evolve?
I do a lot of research, and sometimes you get carried away with the research because you're like, well, it has to be this weight and it has to be this, and it's like, what? It doesn't exist. You have to occasionally remind yourself, and you do get carried away with that stuff, with historical detail, like the word Bigfoot wasn't used until the middle of the last century, the 1950s, and this is Victorian set, and I really thought about that for a long time. I was like, is it okay for me to do this? And it's like, your main character is a Bigfoot that talks and wears human clothes. Of course it's okay to do this. It's fine. But yeah, I always like to do a lot of research. I based the design of Mr. Link on a Gigantopithecus, which is kind of what they based. Everyone knows Harry and the Hendersons, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same creature that it's based on. But of course, we went wildly stylized from that.
How about the Patterson footage? Was that
Yeah.
influence as well?
Yeah, I watched every.
Are you guys familiar with that? It's like a...
The which one?
Oh, it's like a
it's
real
that
Bigfoot.
walk.
Yeah.
Which he does. Which he does in the movie.
Yeah, we had to have one shot in the movie where he does that walk.
And if you ever see the image stabilized copy of that, it looks like somebody in a big floppy suit.
Yeah, it's weird. Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah.
But that is the definitive Bigfoot image. So.
It is. So we had to incorporate it. Yeah.
A lot of people assume when you're writing that you just make one script and put it out. How many drafts did you go through to get the story finalized to where it is today?
With this one, the first draft that I wrote is recognizably the final movie, but having said that, I was writing it on and off for a long time, in various iterations. So just like writing little ideas down and drawing.
Little tweaks here and there.
Yeah, through like 15 years, and then in the end, I think it was 3 drafts or 2 drafts on the polish, and I think it does help that because I'm the writer and the director, I know what I want to see. So it's not like someone throws a script at me and I'm like, how am I going to realize that? Because as I'm writing it, I'm thinking how I'm going to realize it. So in actual fact, what I write is what I want to make.
So you're saying that you're a control freak.
That's right. That's right.
Do you guys have
Thank
a
you.
favorite character? I mean, there's so many characters in this film. Do you guys have a favorite character that you
I
guys...
do. I Stenk just because he's just beautiful. He's just a beautiful design. His costume is spectacular. I mean, when you see that in person, it's just and I like the villain. I like the foil, and he's creepy,
He's a
weird,
horrible
little
human
strange
being.
thing.
The best part about him, I think, was his hook nose is exactly the same design as the hook on his spurs.
Yeah.
I like the little details
He's just,
there.
and we spend a lot of time with these characters, so of course you fall in and out of love with them across the 2 or 3 years that you're working on it. But whenever I look at him, I just think he's almost a perfect character.
I like this guy. I think a lot of him is based on me, which is unfortunate because he's a problematic character. But I like him. I like him a lot. There is another character that I don't want to say too much about, but it is a Yeti played by Emma Thompson. I'm very fond of that character as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some of you and her a little bit. Some of the quips, you'll see.
Yeah.
I want to ask this. I don't think this is a spoiler, but I saw the movie. I loved it, by the way.
Thank you.
So, can you explain the decision behind the idea or the fact that Zoe's character is not necessarily a love interest to Sir Lionel?
That is a spoiler.
Oh, spoiler! I'm sorry.
No,
My apologies, then we'll
no.
discuss that.
I can talk about it vaguely.
Yeah.
I wanted to set this movie up as like this, like kind of old classic adventure story, and an aspect of that is like this classic romance. I didn't want it to play like that. Like she is this resourceful, independent woman who has found herself in a situation that she wants to escape from. So it was not right by any means to have her escape into a relationship with it. You know, it's like there is more on her horizon than a relationship with this dude.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
it was interesting to play. I like the idea of playing with those perceptions, but then subverting them.
Thank you.
So it almost seems like she could have her own movie.
I would like that.
That's what I thought.
Nice little spin-off.
Yeah. Well,
No.
there was originally a backstory that I ended up cutting just for time, but they originally met when they were hunting for the chupacabra.
Oh, wow.
So we got a prequel story. So, since we are at WonderCon, we have to ask this. Which one of these characters would you cosplay at a convention?
Nelson?
Oh boy. Stank.
I would absolutely do this guy because his suit is amazing. I would buy this suit. I don't know about the boots, but I would definitely buy this suit. I love it.
I'm all about the king.
The cane is great, and it's got a dragon head as well.
The houndstooth looks really good.
I wanted him to have like something that was his, that was kind of iconic, an iconic prop, and I thought of like Indy's whip, and I was like, well, Lionel is king.
And he uses it.
Yeah,
And it is kind of posh. So.
it's very posh.
Yeah, does he really
Fancy.
need it? Is he just,
No,
is there a sword in there we haven't seen? It?
no.
Yeah, you guys are going through a lot of different kind of settings and locations in the movie too. How many different sets did you have to build approximately to have all of these different places and different cultures and different people?
Right. Well, more than we'd ever done before, and that's saying something because Cuba was the largest show we've ever done, and we've far surpassed that. So there's, technically there's about 50 locations, but there's, probably 75 sets, because there's multiple sets in a location.
Which is way too much for a stop motion.
Yeah, it is a lot, and
But you did it.
Yep. we
Yeah,
did.
and it's spread, we just, when we're up and running and there's 90 units shooting and it's spread all over this giant place. It was crazy, just in a day I would go from like country to country, like, I'd be in London one moment and the Indian jungle the next, and it was just so fun to sort of, spend my time in those different places.
Yeah.
So you had your own Epcot Center.
Kind of, yeah, I mean, I don't know, has anybody seen the sets? Anybody been out?
No, sir.
Yeah.
They're just, they're pretty spectacular in real life. I mean, they're big and colorful. It's pretty fun to walk around.
We saw the sets that you brought to Comic-Con for some of the other
Right.
films.
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You get
those
the-
were amazing. So yeah,
But we're waiting the invitation to the set.
Okay. Noted.
for the prequel.
Come along. Anytime.
Thank you.
Were there any Easter eggs that you incorporated from any of the other Leica movies,
Yes.
or even from the Pacific Northwest, because that's where you're located?
We
and-
don't like to call them Easter eggs.
Oh, or like any
But,
references?
but they are. The movie is riddled with it. In fact, I don't even know half of them because what you find is that you've got someone you've got a team of people who are working on a set, and things start to creep in that that you didn't know about. But I certainly had a lot of things built in there. In Lionel's study, when he's opening the drawers, there is a drawer that has the Netsuke from Kubo, and it's got the fairy tale book from Paranorman, and a newspaper with a box troll on it.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's so many things like that.
And now we've done a bunch of films, so there's a canon of films that we can borrow from. There's a nice rich history.
I did a bunch of stuff that no one is ever going to notice or know about, but like the books in Lionel's study are references to a lot of the literature that I was referencing when I was writing it. So there's a book by a character from Sherlock Holmes who wrote about apes. There's all stuff like that. It's full of it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the Easter eggs, but there's a bunch in there, and I think repeat viewings. That's a good way to find them.
I think one of the best ones, and you don't really see it in the movie, is Monkey from Kubo. She is a stuffed head in the club.
Often noticed.
Yeah. She has been beheaded and stoned. And no one will ever see it. But now you know.
No one will see it. You can't see it on camera.
You see it in the background, but it's kind of blurry.
Oh, okay.
You don't really know where it is. Yeah.
I had asked the previous panel, and I want to present it to you as well. Since you've had these Easter eggs in the film, would there be a possible shared universe? Since we've studied cryptozoology, paranormal activities, possibly aliens.
Absolutely not. And I think part of the reason for that is that stylistically, we want every one of our movies to feel different. So if you actually put them next to each other, they don't look the same.
Right.
And I think that's important. Everyone has its own identity, and I love that. I love that not just as a creator, but as a cinema goer, that you can't predict what we're going to do next, and I think that's important to us as a brand. That we are able to tell different types of stories. So no shared universe, but never say never. There might be a sequel. I mean, I don't know that. I just
There's so many more original ideas that we would love to do. Like we'd like to think that we would wear ourselves up before we start combining stuff.
Yeah.
No holiday specials where everyone gets together.
There's no time. It takes so much.
Now you've said it.
Turning out there.
Flag Day. That's the holiday Flag Day.
While writing the script for the movie, while you're anything that you can tell, oh, this is going to be very difficult for the animators.
Yes, there was a lot of that. There's one sequence in particular that because I tend to overwrite in that, you read a lot of scripts and if it's an action sequence, it'll just be a couple of lines that says, and then they fight. Whereas I will write out like blow by blow how it happens, because again, I'm trying to get as much information from here to the artists, and there was a big climactic action sequence. Without spoiling anything, it takes place on a collapsing ice bridge, miles up in the mountains of the Himalayas, and the main characters are clinging for their life whilst fighting the villains. And just in terms of the choreography and logistically how to do it, I was thinking, I shouldn't be writing this. And then we boarded it, and I was like, we shouldn't be boarding it. But we did it. And I think that I'm really proud of the action sequences in this movie, because we approach them like with a live action sensibility, quick cuts. And quick cuts in animation, there's nothing quick in animation. We have shots that are like 10 frames long.
And that's like setting up and
it takes 2 days to set up that shot, but it's 10 frames. And so ordinarily that's the kind of stuff that you'd be like, no. But we did it, and because of that, it's got a feel to it that I think is different and more vital and more exciting than anything we've done before.
Chris, obviously there's an advantage to writing and directing your own materials, but what are the challenges of directing somebody else's material and bringing that to life?
well, I've not done that yet. So, I mean, I think that's an interesting challenge, and I've certainly written stuff, based on material that isn't mine. It's interesting. It's a different way of thinking, and it's an interesting way to flex those creative muscles. But so far, I've been lucky enough just to direct my own stuff. But who knows in the future? I don't know.
And then the last question, do you guys believe in Bigfoot? I know you already said he's fictional. Have you ever had any encounters, like especially being in the Pacific Northwest, seeing anything? Or
No.
Oh.
But
I
you know,
wish.
yeah.
I wish.
I mean, I love the idea of magical thinking, and it's so cool that, but I'm very science-based in so much that, like, you think about all the creatures on Earth that are just unbelievable, like, cuttlefish flashing hypnotic patterns to stun their prey underwater. I mean, things we like, that is a Bigfoot. That is a mysterious, crazy thing that is alive, and we filmed it. We've proven its existence. So,
Right.
the magic is there already.
I mean, I remember when I was writing Paranorman, I went to the most haunted hotel in Massachusetts, and I stayed in the most haunted room. And I remember sitting there going, "Come on, something," and there was nothing. So I want Bigfoot to walk in front of my car.
And never say never. Who knows? Like, we could all be proven wrong, maybe someday. I'm walking out of the woods.
Yeah, talking. Yeah.
We'll take you on a ghost hunt to the Queen Mary.
Ooh, I'm in.
I've had some weird experiences inside the Queen Mary's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that place is haunted for real.
I'm into it.
Unexplainable.
I want it unexplained. Bring it on.
I'm good on that stuff.
I'm not going back. I'm just saying I've felt it.
Well, we live so close to the Queen Mary, and people are, what, you want to meet Bigfoot?
No, I'm not sure. Not unless I had some backup.
I like that.
What if he's super bespoke though, and wearing a suit?
Yeah, if he was
Looking
wearing
more
a suit,
quite
I'd be
nice,
like, "Where did you get that?"
right?
Who's your tailor?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. It was